The fall finale of Citadel Gray Line is upon us. Welcome into the show that each week during the football season we go through and cover the goings-on of the Citadel Athletic Department as well as other happenings at the Citadel, 171 Moultrie Street, South Carolina's Military College. John Rawl is my name. So great to have you along. We've got a very busy show. We welcome your input here on the show because we've got a coaching change at the Citadel's football department. Brent Thompson is out after a number of years, and now the questions are coming in, who's going to succeed Coach Thompson at LCID? If you have a comment, if you've got something to say, maybe a tribute to Coach Thompson, we welcome that right here on the Gray Line. Our number to text in is 843-779-8496. It's right there on the screen right now. Would love to get your feedback. Again, Coach Thompson, after a number of years in a Southern Conference championship back in 2016, his contract not renewed. Andrew Miller of the Charleston Post and Courier is on with us. He's going to tell us what he found out about this coach, the change, the possibilities, and more. We also have Thomas Scruggs, our Citadel Gray Line insider, all right here on the power program of LCID Athletics. Andrew, it's a busy, busy show today. Oh, by the way, the Citadel goes up to Lexington and defeats those pesky Keydets of VMI. And in honor of us owning VMI, I'm sporting Keydet colors here today, Andrew.
It was a really good win for the Citadel in a lot of ways. One, the first half was an outstanding first half for the Bulldogs. They did everything they wanted to. Offensively, they controlled the ball, put points on the board. They were able to play really well. And then in the second, the momentum kind of changes as it does in really any kind of game. The Cadets really made a really strong push there, took the lead. And then I thought the Bulldogs really showed a lot of resiliency, a lot of grit, a lot of determination. They came back and they won the game. I think that shows you a lot about this team and their character. On the road, winning a game against your arch rival when you kind of had all the momentum in the first half and then you kind of lose it, but then you regain it and put together a game-winning drive late in the fourth quarter. So, I thought a really great win. That's the first time I've ever been to VMI back when I was covering the Bulldogs in the 90s, in the early to mid-90s. The game was always Norfolk, or I remember going to Norfolk a couple of times for the game. So it's actually the first time I'd ever been to VMI, and I thought it was a really cool experience. They'd had it earlier, a little bit earlier in the year. I know that doesn't really fit up on the, you play your rival usually the last game of the season, but I would have loved to have seen those fall colors earlier in the year and gone up there. But other than that, a really cool trip to go up there and see a big win for the Citadel.
A big win, and Thomas Scruggs, that silver Shako stays in the 8-4-3.
Yes, sir, John. What a great come-from-behind win for the Citadel. It was really a tale of two halves, or the first half, like Andrew said, we owned it. Third quarter, once they scored those three touchdowns, I didn't give us much hope, but they calmly got the ball back with 7.5 minutes to go, drove down the field, got the ball back, and then the long TD pass, to go ahead. It was a great victory.
A victory for the ages. Not really, but still a great comeback victory. That's not something Citadel Sports is known for, Thomas.
No, sir. Our offense is not geared. We're geared to possess the ball and grind it out. And like you said, we're not. Our offense is not set up to come from behind. Fortunately, we were only down by 8. I think maybe part of that is the DMI went for 2 unsuccessfully, so they gave us a little bit of help there.
Yes, they did. And the silver Shako, as we mentioned, stays in Charleston as the Citadel comes away with a big win, 26-22. Grayson Underwood to, I believe he is a sophomore this year, Rice, the gentleman from the upstate, a nice River Bluff to Easley, I think is the school that he went to. Combination for touchdown to give the Citadel a victory, and the silver Shako, as we said, stays at the Citadel. Now, we bring that silver Shako term up real quick before we get into coaching possibilities to tell you about our great co-sponsor on this show, and that's the good folks at BigRedPalmetto.store. Black Friday is Friday, Cyber Monday is Monday. Got need to get something for that special loved one or maybe for yourself, you earn the right to sport Citadel gear. Well, BigRedPalmetto.store it's your place to find all the great Citadel items with all the many great logos, from Spike to the Jumping Bulldog of the old core to the new Sea Star logo and more. It's Citadel merchandise galore at BigRedPalmetto.store. They bring us the Knob Knowledge question each week. And last week, in honor of the Silver Shako rivalry, we asked, and we're going back to some world history, Thomas, what country was the inspiration behind the Shako? And if you're not a military person, you may not know what a Shako is. That's the goofy little hat with sometimes a little feathery looking thing on top of it that you see at a dress parade at the Citadel. And, of course, you also see it used in other military regiments as well as maybe some marching bands, a Shako. And I wanted to know what country was the inspiration behind the Shako hat device. And, Thomas, we have a correct guess that's come in on the Gray Line hotline, 843-779-8496. That country would be, Thomas, you want to take a stab?
I would have said France.
Well, you're wrong. Andrew, how about you?
I was going to say Germany, but
You're wrong, too. Y'all need to study up on your Eastern European history. Going back to the early 19th century, the country of Hungary was the inspiration behind the Shako. So there's your Hungarian bit of trivia on this year's Citadel Gray Line. And we got to congratulate a great winner of this $25 gift certificate to BigRedPalmetto.store. It's one of our great listeners and viewers, Captain Gregory Copland. Bravo Company 2017. Bravo Beach comes through as Captain Copland correctly guessed Hungary as the country that the Shako was the country responsible for bringing us the Shako. So thank you, Hungary, and Captain Copland. We thank you for participating. Now we got to ask this week's Knob Knowledge question, gentlemen. And this week's Knob Knowledge question, we've got a coaching change as the Citadel this week announces that Brent Thompson's contract will not be renewed. Brent Thompson was the 25th head coach at the Citadel. We're now going to be looking for a 26th head coach. The Knob Knowledge question this week, tell me who the first head coach of Citadel football was. And if you tell me the first person to correctly text that in to 843-779-8496, you'll get a $25 gift certificate from BigRedPalmetto.store. How about that? You get this on this fall finale of our show, a chance to go out a winner, and all you got to do is tell me who the first coach was. And Andrew, something tells me there's a good chance you might have covered this coach in that inaugural season of Bulldog football.
And I don't think so. I haven't been around that long. Been around a while, but not that long. I do want to make one correction. I always hate to correct the host, but Christian Hilton was the guy who caught the game-winning.
Oh, I'm sorry.
On Saturday. Don't want to slight him in any way. He made a great throw by Grayson Underwood. Peyton Derrick was injured late in that fourth quarter, so a great play though there for the Citadel to kind of push him over the top.
Thank you. You correct me anytime, Andrew. I have many flaws, including stupidity. So yes, I certainly am capable of making a mistake. Unlike Thomas, who's never made a mistake, I don't think. But, yes, we want to get that correct because I know Mom and Daddy are probably watching this, and we want to give all the love to all of our parents for tuning in. We got a lot of football parents that watch this show each week, so thank you all for supporting your young men throughout their young lives. And now as cadets and student athletes, our cadet student athletes, we know that there's a lot of headaches and heartaches that parents have to go through, so want to make sure we point that out here on this fall finale. Bulldogs get the victory, finish up the season 4-7. Before we go to what happened earlier in the week, I believe it was on Tuesday when the news broke. No, was it Tuesday? I forgot.
The news broke. What on Coach Thompson?
Yes.
That was yesterday, so that was Monday.
Yeah. Okay. Gosh, it is Tuesday. Whoops.
Yes.
It's a holiday week, y'all. I'm already got the turkey on my mind. Okay, yeah. Today is Tuesday. Geesh. Losing it here, Andrew. Okay, so Tuesday was the day that the news broke. We'll get to that in a second. Anything else football-wise before we start talking coaching with you, Andrew?
No, again, a really nice win going up there. It'll be interesting to see kind of who the new coach is. But the other thing that I thought was interesting, or not interesting, but Tyler Cherry returned to the lineup, and I think on a couple of those outside runs when this on the perimeter, you saw that he's been programmed for a little while, and his blocking I thought was outstanding on the perimeter. So not only was Tyler Cherry, and he missed probably 6 games coming into that VMI game, and I didn't think that he was going to play, but thought he blocked really well. I think he even caught a pass. So having those veteran guys out there on the perimeter is really, especially for the Bulldogs offense, and defensively, I thought the secondary for the most part played really well. Chris Beverly, Destin Mack, those are 2 just quality human beings. And not only are they great guys, but they're really good football players. I thought they both had really good games.
All right, very good information. Again, from Andrew Miller of the Charleston Post and Courier. So 2022 comes to an end, and we must turn the page to the future, and that's what we're going to do right now. And that future came Monday when a statement came out from the athletic department that Brent Thompson's contract was not renewed. So he's out after the 25th year, or 25th position of head coach at the Citadel. He goes on and is now going to, we wish him well in his next endeavor. That leaves an opening for a head coach. Andrew, tell me what you're hearing. I know your phone's burning up.
Well, I think the 2 most logical candidates, at least from bringing people back, success at the Citadel, Everett Sands and Maurice Drayton. I think those are the 2 names that we keep hearing the most about. But the Citadel has hired their own sports search team. These companies kind of help the universities get candidates for the head coaching job. And when that happens, they kind of bypass that, alumni, network that might have helped guys like Maurice Drayton and guys like Everett Sands come in and be the head coach. So, I think that the search is going to be wide open. But if you ask me, who I think that has a good shot at it, I think both of those guys have a good shot. I think Maurice Drayton, who's now coaching in the NFL with Las Vegas, he's been a defensive coordinator there. He's from the area. It seems like he would be the most logical choice because he's been a coordinator before, and obviously he's coached at the highest level that you can coach at. Everett Sands is a little anecdote about Everett Sands' first desktop that I ever bought myself. I bought it from Everett Sands when he worked at this local computer little store over on James Island. I think Everett's one of the best human beings I've met. He's coached at South Carolina. He's now the interim coach at Catawba College. He's got a lot of experience as well, recruiting and coaching at the very highest level of college football. So, those are the 2 names that I keep hearing. The coach at Davidson is another name that I've heard a little bit as well. He's been very successful up there in that Charlotte area. So again, when you hire a search firm, I think that kind of doesn't eliminate, but it kind of diminishes that kind of alumni network that people might think of. So they might go totally outside of the box. I think one of the most important things is what kind of offense and defense is this new coach going to run, and how is that going to be able to line up with what the Citadel likes to do and what kind of athlete they can recruit. So those are my thoughts on it.
I missed the first name. If you said it, you said Coach Davis?
Maurice Drayton.
No, Maurice Drayton. Who's the last name I heard you mention?
Well, Everett Sands, and then the coach at Davidson, whose name now is I think Abel is his last name, but I could be wrong on that.
Say that again, because I'm actually making a fancy little graphic here while we're going through this. What's the school again?
Yeah, Davidson, the Davidson head coach, head football coach.
Oh, Davidson, as in the Davidson Wildcats.
Correct.
Okay. Because there is a Citadel alumnus from around 2005 who's a pretty big football guy in the Charlotte area. I think he's a head coach, and he's been very successful. And I should know his name, but I never knew about him until this year's NFL draft when Ikwanu, whatever his last name is, that the Carolina Panthers took with the number 5th overall pick. This guy was his high school coach, and he was at the draft. I think, in Vegas when he was drafted. And Icky actually talked about the Citadel, I think, when he had his introductory press conference.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I did not know about that.
Yeah. So we got, and of course, we don't want to forget about Andre Roberts while we're talking about the Panthers. Keep pounding.
Right.
But yeah, I thought that might be who you were mentioning. But you're talking about the Davidson head coach.
Correct.
And I'm going to pull that name up here in a second. Thomas, what do you think about all this change, sir?
Well, I think change is definitely needed. Again, I hate it for Brent Thompson. He's a great guy. At his tenure at the Citadel, we saw a SoCon championship, and unfortunately, the last few years just haven't gone the way I'm sure he imagined. But I've said it before. I know we want to get a grad. We want to bring in a grad, and I hear a lot of talk about Maurice Drayton and Everett Sands, great candidates. We need to remember that the three winningest coaches in Citadel football recent history were not grads. So I think sometimes you can fall into that trap of thinking that we have to hire an alumnus and keep it in the family. That didn't work too well when we pulled in Ellis Johnson. I know I keep going back to that. But I know there's going to be a lot of noise from the alumni base if Drayton doesn't get an offer, if Everett Sands doesn't get an offer. Are they the best?
And why is that, Thomas? Why is that?
Well, you had a certain contingent of the alumni base that really was pulling for Drayton to be hired when Thompson was offered the job back in 2016.
And if you go back again, not to interrupt, if you go back to 2016, the job was down between those two gentlemen, between a defensive guy in Drayton and an offensive guy in Brent Thompson. And then athletic director Jim Center went with the non-grad and went with Brent Thompson. I think mainly because of trying to keep the wishbone or the offense, the triple option going. But that didn't make Maurice Drayton too happy.
No, it didn't. I mean, of course, he's making big bucks in the NFL as an assistant. So, part of the question, too, is I've heard he's got interest, but is he willing to take a step down in that salary to come coach in the Southern Conference and try to recruit for a military college, his alma mater? But so, like I said, he's got a lot of people pulling his bandwagon. Everett, of course. I don't know much about Everett's recent success as a coach. As far as win-loss record, what their offensive statistics are like. The question has come up. I think I've seen some of those, and if he can't get it done at Catawba, what makes you think he can come to the Citadel to get it done? I don't know. I'm not, those aren't my comments. Those are some of the comments I've seen on social media. So obviously I'm a big Everett Sands fan. I'm a big Maurice Drayton fan. I hope they're definitely, one of the finalists for the position. But again, I just caution us to let's make sure. I've even heard complaints from the fan base. Why are we wasting money on hiring a search firm? Well, this is how you do it in college football today. So yes, while it does seem to cloud that alumni connection a little bit, like you mentioned, Andrew, I think it also gives us resources that we don't have at the athletic department level. So I commend them for going out and getting a search firm to find the best candidate. At the end of the day, that's what we need to hire, the best candidate for the job, not necessarily a grad. I hope it's a grad if that's the best candidate.
Well, out of the three names we've mentioned, I'm going to pull them up real quick. There you have it. Everett Sands, Maurice Drayton, and Scott Abel. Those are the three names we've talked about thus far. And if y'all are hearing names, I'm going to throw them up here on the big board, and we'll just throw them up there totally just at random. Go back to September 15th of last year, 2021. We had Everett Sands on this show. If you have a chance to go on YouTube, find that interview. And we had a fantastic interview with Everett Sands talking about his time where he never lost a single yard in the backfield as a running back for the Citadel, and just the great career he's had. And this is a guy who I think was a computer science major. If not that, he was a math major like Jack Douglas was. One of those two, much smarter than a business major like me. But Everett Sands has class of 1993, done a great job, represented 93 a lot better than me, and wish him all the best if he's interested in the job. Remember, he may not want to be a head coach. I'm sure that's not the case, but we want to make sure all these guys get a fair shot. But as Thomas, I totally echo what you said. We want the best. I want the best fit. I want success at the Citadel. We've seen success. Brent Thompson had success at the Citadel, by golly, and I want this success to come back and find Citadel fans once again another Southern Conference championship, if at all possible. Now, we had three names up there. Let's just talk about the elephant in the room, guys, because when I was down at homecoming, the talk was, well, we have to have a minority coach hired here. Is that really true? Is that something we absolutely have to do in this case?
Yeah, I don't know if that's, again, I hope that the Citadel gets the best candidate. And obviously Maurice Drayton and Everett Sands, they've been through the Corps of Cadets. They know what it's about. And I think it takes, you talk about getting the best candidate and the best fit. And the Citadel is a unique place. And you guys talk about this all the time. And obviously I've never been to a military school, never been through that fourth class system. So I don't know what that's all about. So I think sometimes when you hire an outside coach who's never coached at a military school and they don't understand the way that system works, I think that could be a detriment and not a benefit at times, because you got to navigate your way through that whole thing. As far as it being a minority coach or not a minority coach, I don't know about that. I don't think it has to be that. Again, you want the best guy with the best fit. But I do think two of your leading candidates are guys who are African Americans. They're great guys. They've proven that they can coach at the highest level. Now, you talked about Everett Sands. I actually talked to him yesterday. Yes, he is very interested in becoming the head coach, so he wants this job. No question about that. There was. I asked him. He said definitely 100% yes. He would like that head coaching job. From what I hear about Maurice Drayton, he's a little insulted that they've hired a search firm. He just thinks that maybe he should get the job offered. And they're, hey, he's been there. He's been a coordinator there. So he knows how to recruit to the Citadel as well. Learned under a great coach. Mike Houston, I think, is a fantastic coach. Learned under him. So, I think those are two guys who are alumni, who can navigate their way through the Citadel's military system. And the biggest thing for me, and the biggest thing that I've learned over the years of covering college football, is that you have to be able to recruit. And I think those two guys can recruit at the Citadel.
Very well put. Andrew Miller, postandcourier.com is where you'll find his writing. And great job of getting on that telephone and calling up these people. Now, I've got this guy that I'm about to pull up's number down. At least it worked a couple of years ago when I reached out to him. Here's another guy that is a Citadel alum. He is a minority. He has been a head coach. And he's a darn good running back coach. Should we put this guy's name up here? How about Stump Mitchell?
I do think he makes too much money in the NFL. And you touched on it earlier about Maurice Drayton, and he is going to have to take a pay cut to come to the Citadel if he comes here. Most NFL assistant coaches make between $400,000 and $500,000. I don't know. I only know what Charlie Taft made his last year at the Citadel. I can tell you it was well below that, but that was again in the mid '90s. I don't know what a head coach makes at the Citadel. But I think just having that tag as head coach is enough of an incentive for somebody like Maurice Drayton to come here. I don't even know if Stump Mitchell's interested in the job. That he'd be an interesting candidate, though, for sure.
Well, I think he got a little mad in years past when he wasn't considered. And look, Stump Mitchell has been a coach at Morgan State as well as Southern, and he did not do a good job as a head coach back then. But he was coaching at very underfunded HBCUs. And he's found a niche in the NFL. He's a heck of a running backs coach. If you don't believe me, just go look at what the Browns are doing right now. And he's done it all in the NFL. He's made plenty of money. He's done it all. Stump's not a spring chicken. He's about, what is he, early 60s now? And so maybe he would see what Deion Sanders has done at a place called Jackson State and say, well, by golly, I'm going to go bring some enthusiasm. Because, look, as I've said earlier, and I'm not trying to be a know-it-all. I'm certainly not a know-it-all. I know very little, to be honest with you. But what I do know is that if the Citadel is going to have any success, they're probably going to have to be running the ball. And that doesn't necessarily mean it has to be a triple option. It can be variations of that. Well, Stump Mitchell knows how to run a darn football, and more importantly, he knows how to coach running backs. And if we're going to be a run-heavy offense, I would be making a call. It's the least we could do. And if you haven't seen recently, HBO, I think it was, or maybe NFL Films, did a really good profile of him. It's on YouTube. Check it out. He's awesome, and we ought to at least consider him. That's my 1 cent's worth of opinion.
Yeah, he'd be a very interesting candidate. Obviously, you're right. I think he is in his mid-60s. I'm older than both of you guys, and so I'm 58. So he's got to be 6 years older than me at least. So I don't know that you want a guy who's that old to kind of start a program up. But a very interesting candidate. You're right. I don't even know if he'd be interested in coming here. But I like Drayton and I like Sands because they're young. They both, especially Everett because he's coached at South Carolina. He's coached at NC State. So he's coached at the Power 5 level. He's recruited at that level. And again, I just think that's crucially important that you know how to recruit and you know how to recruit the kids that are going to be successful at the Citadel. I think that is paramount over anything else, really.
Yeah. Now, that other name, I know we barely mentioned him, but why the job that the Davidson Coach Abel, I believe I misspelled his name there. I think it is with 2 L's there. I just corrected it. What's his background, if you know it?
Yeah, I don't know a ton about him. I just know when you look at his record, Davidson has not been a powerhouse football program, and he's won there. And anytime that a coach can take a program that hasn't been a winner and they turn them into a winner, I'm always amazed at people that can do that. The Coastal Carolina coach jumps right out at me. I mean, he's a guy that went to Charleston Southern where they didn't win very much, and then they turned out to be Big South champions. And let's face it, they beat the Citadel a few times. Then he goes to, and then he.
Looks like we may have temporarily lost Andrew. We'll try to get him back here. Thomas, what do you think of all this, sir? All these names?
Well, I think like Andrew said, one thing that makes Maurice Drayton and Everett Sands attractive is their ability to recruit. They've been in the Corps of Cadets, as football players, so they understand the type of athlete that you have to recruit to the Citadel. That does make them very attractive. I think we've seen in other places, in many places, just because you're a good coordinator doesn't mean you'll make a good head coach. So you never know unless you go, unless you try. But I'd be excited to have either one of those guys, John, as head coach. I think like Andrew said with Everett Sands, coaching running backs coach at the University of South Carolina, is coaching at NC State. He's recruited a lot in state. He knows the state. So to me, Everett Sands is a very attractive candidate. One thing I was going to ask you, Andrew, looks like you're back on. What's his recent record, I guess, coaching record there at Catawba?
Well, they fired their head coach, or he resigned, or whatever at Catawba, and then Everett took over, I think, last week as the interim.
Oh wow, okay. So
I did not see how they did. So I do not know. He was the offensive coordinator at Catawba, and
okay.
The guy, I don't know where I got cut off, but I like guys. We were talking about Scott Abel at Davidson. I like guys who can take programs who are not very good and then turn them into winners. Jamie Chadwell, I'm sure, who many Citadel people do not like. Look at what he did at Charleston Southern, and then he goes to Post and Carolina. He turns them into a winner too. And those are the kind of coaches that I think are people that you want as part of your program. They have proven track records. So, that's why Scott Abel's name had come up. But I don't know enough about his background, and has he ever coached at a military school? Would he be willing to do? I don't know any of that stuff, and I got to look into that a little bit more as we head into this process.
John, what we can't do is hire a coach that's going to, increase the transfer portal at the Citadel. That's going to be my first question is, how are you going to recruit in the Citadel? You and I feel the same way about that. I believe they should be cadets on the football team. Not to say that we don't have any room for transfers. I know that's the current reality, so we're not completely going to get rid of the transfer portal and having, there's a difference between someone coming from another school and having, say, a fifth-year senior living off campus. I don't think anybody has an issue with that. So I think it's a great concern to the alumni base.
We will continue talking about prospects. I've got another big board reveal here on coaches that I'm going to share with you all here in a second. But let me first tell you about our other wonderful sponsor that's been with us for many, many years now, and that's IPS Packaging and Automation in Fountain Inn, South Carolina, a name you can trust. Since the bicentennial year of 1976, IPS Packaging and Automation has been providing manufacturers and e-commerce companies with the very best packaging products and automation in the entire industry. IPS Packaging and Automation offers a complete line of packaging products, got stretch films, and they have 3M tapes, corrugated boxes, strapping, and equipment automation. IPS Packaging and Automation will analyze and streamline current methods to improve your packaging process. Pick up that phone and give them a holler. 800-277-7007 to learn more. Visit them online at ipack.com. That's ipack.com. IPS Packaging and Automation is a proud supporter of Citadel Athletics. So give them a call, and they will just do a wonderful job of packing up things, including those great Christmas presents, which I know y'all already need supplies for. 800-277-7007, ipack.com. All right, let's bring out another name on the big board of prospects as we're ruminating and thinking about what we're going to have as a 26th head coach of the Citadel. Jamie Chadwell's probably not going to come to Charleston to be the head coach of the Citadel, Thomas Scruggs. Sorry about that. But if you can't beat them, perhaps you might can join them. So the next big board reveal is from Lexington, South Carolina, Thomas Scruggs. A possibility, maybe a crazy possibility, but how about Chad Staggs? Are you familiar with that name?
I'm not familiar with that name.
He is the defensive coordinator of the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers. He has been the defensive coordinator of the Furman Paladins in recent years. He was with Jamie Chadwell during those years at Charleston Southern. He is a Citadel assassin. I don't think he's ever lost to the Citadel as a defensive coordinator. He's about 40 years old. He is a heck of a coordinator. And yes, I know it's a stretch, but the guy hadn't been a head coach before. He ought to be considered, in my humble opinion. What say you two, gentlemen?
Well, it sounds like he has potentially the pedigree there, John, being defensive coordinator at Charleston Southern, Coastal, and where did you say currently?
He's back at Coastal now.
Okay, back at Coastal. Okay.
Yeah, now, right. I'm sure the logic is he's probably going to step in and be a coach whenever Chadwell picks his bags up and moves somewhere else. But guess what? That hasn't happened, and I'm not sure it will happen. So, Staggs, if you're listening, might want to send a resume on down to 171 Moultrie Street.
Did you say he was an alumnus?
No, he went to Carolina. He actually was the bag man, if you will, for one Demetrius Summers.
Okay.
He was on Lou Holtz's coaching staff, and basically that was his big job, was to keep Demetrius Summers going to class, maybe.
I was going to say, if he's been a successful coordinator, he's coached at Furman, he's coached at Coastal Carolina. Obviously, he knows the state of South Carolina, and that could help him in recruiting. And if he was the defensive coordinator when Charleston Southern, was in beating the Citadel in those years, obviously that's a nice little resume builder as well. So all those things certainly make him interesting. And one of the things that I was thinking about is Jamie Chadwell, the offense that he runs, and you guys talk about getting away maybe from the triple option, true triple option. I mean, Jamie Chadwell runs an option style offense that I think could work at the Citadel. So is Willie Korn his offensive coordinator? I don't know. I covered Willie when he was a quarterback.
That makes sense. I believe Willie Korn ended up going to Charleston Southern and was a quarterback under Chadwell there, I think.
Yeah, but he works for Chadwell at Coastal Carolina now. I think he's the offensive coordinator. Or at least the quarterback's coach, something like that. He might be another guy that they would think of. Obviously, he's a guy from the state of South Carolina, knows the area pretty well. So just another name to throw out there at you.
Yeah, we're kind of just spitballing all kind of prospects here, but we want our grads to certainly be considered. And again, all I want, and I can't speak for Andrew and Thomas, I want the best. I want the best. And Brent Thompson was good. He was a good coach, a great person, a good coach. But you can't be 500 or below, as he has been since his first season, that's the reason he's no longer the head coach.
Yeah, and when I talked to him after the game on Saturday, I mean, you're right. To me, he was the consummate professional. He answered all the questions that I asked him. Some not so great, hard questions that coaches get when they're struggling to win games. But at the end of the day, no matter what kind of human being you are, they hire you to win football games, and he didn't win enough, and that's the bottom line. And he understood that. I think the quote I had in him, because I don't know if 4 wins is enough for us to stay around. And I think that, at the end of the day, you got to win football games, no matter who you are or what you are. You got to win games to keep that job.
You hear that, Thomas?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Well, this can go on and on. We're going to kind of stop on the prospecting of coaching. Andrew, what can fans find from your website? I'm sure you're all over this search. Tell us, tease us, if you will, what the Post and Courier is doing to keep this coaching search going from an interactive standpoint.
Well, I mean, I had the story that was in today's paper on our website, postandcourier.com. I'm planning on taking a day off here so I can rest a little bit, because I don't think that the search is really going to start till after the Thanksgiving holidays. Although, hey, I could be wrong. They could be flying people in and interviewing people right now. But normally the way that when you hire a search firm like this, they're going to kind of go to the coach's agents that they're interested in and find out who's interested and who's not. And that should probably take a few days. I would think that they would hire a new coach probably by the first or second week of December. That would be my timetable. Probably after the week that all the conference championship games are. I would think they're zeroing in on a guy by that point if they haven't already hired somebody. So I think this will be a pretty quick turnaround. I mean, I could be wrong. I've seen it go both ways. But I think that they'll have at least down to 2 or 3 candidates by that second week in December.
All right. And again, postandcourier.com. Go follow Andrew on all the social media connections and be the first to know. I know it was my old roommate, one Mr. Singletary, who texted me early on Monday morning with a Post and Courier story letting me know that Brent Thompson was out as the head coach. So thank you, Andrew, for that great journalism that you're putting on display there for the Charleston Post and Courier. And sadly, we won't be on every week going forward the rest of the year for you to be able to watch what's going on. So you're going to have to rely on postandcourier.com and Andrew Miller. All right, let's turn the page, gentlemen, if we will, to talk real quick about Citadel basketball. They got destroyed at Butler. No surprise there. This week, the reward, they're switching from Indianapolis, the Circle City, to the Crescent City, as the Citadel's playing a couple of games in what's called the New Orleans Big Easy Classic. Up first, the Buccaneers, I believe they're called, or the Pirates of UNO, the University of New Orleans. Privateers, what am I thinking about? That's what they are. I knew it'd come to me. The Privateers of New Orleans are who the Bulldog basketball team's playing. Andrew, your thoughts on what's going on with Coach Conroy's squad?
Well, I mean, again, he's building a program here. It's going to take him a couple of years to get the players that he wants into his system. I think Stephen Clark and Austin Ash, those are 2 guys that you can build a program around. Clark has really shown his versatility this year. He's kind of a do-it-all guy. The offense kind of runs through him, and then Austin Ash is he's just a deadly 3-point shooter. A guy who transfer in from Iowa who's just doing a great job this year. Never been a shot that he wouldn't take or didn't want to take. I don't know if we were on last week, but they played the team out of Sumter, whose name now escapes me. I'm getting old. I can't remember things. But through Stephen Clark gets a rebound, and Austin Ash stood up on the bench. He's actually out of the game on the bench because he was getting ready to go to the scorer's table, and Stephen Clark threw the ball to him when he was out of bounds, thinking that he was open and ready to take that 3-point shot from distance. So that was a pretty funny sequence there. But those 2 guys are guys you can build a program around, and they're going to struggle a little bit this year, just trying to get their footing. But it was really nice to see the Citadel basketball team play really good defense, which is what they did in the 2 games that I've seen them play so far.
Okay, again, in this Big Easy Classic, they're taking on not only New Orleans, but also the University of Denver, and the dumbest named college, I believe, in America, IUPUI. Indiana University, Purdue University of Indianapolis. Say that 5 times fast. All right, so there you have it. They will return home or to the Charleston area as on November 30th next week. They've got the Charleston Southern Buccaneers there from the Buck Dome, 7 p.m. on that game, and then the Charleston fun continues as those awful Cougars of the COC variety step onto campus and they play the College of Knowledge on Saturday, December 3rd, in what's arguably going to be the biggest home game of the year at McAllister Fieldhouse. But great to see the Cougars and the Bulldogs back on the schedule. Great to see the Citadel playing CSU as well. Ed Conroy, wish him all the best. Any other athletics news from you, Mr. Miller, before we let you start carving into that turkey?
No, I think that's about got me for this week.
All right. Well, we can't thank you enough. A great first season working with you, Andrew. I wish you all the best with a happy Thanksgiving and Christmas and other holidays in between. And just great working with you, and best of luck with you in the new year.
Thank you, guys. I want to wish everybody out there happy Thanksgiving and a Merry Christmas.
All right.
Andrew, it's been a pleasure.
Andrew Miller. And Tommy boy, happy Turkey Day to you.
Happy Thanksgiving, John.
Yes, and we wish you the best, and looking forward to getting back together with you in the streets of Columbia real soon.
Yes, sir. Looking forward to it.
Yes, we will reenact the Arsenal when we're there. John Rawl's my name. I really appreciate y'all being with me once again for what was year number 15 of Citadel Gray Line. It's always been a pleasure. Always want to thank my co-host emeritus, Jim Waddell. We tried to actually get him on here, but it just didn't work out. His people couldn't coordinate with our people. Want to thank Jeff Hartzell, who actually was on our very first show of this year, our longtime 14-year co-host, who's now moved on to the skybox of King Street there at the Post and Courier's headquarters. And Andrew, glad to have him filling in those shoes for one, Jeff Hartzell. Want to thank our longtime co-sponsors here on the show, and that would be IPS Packaging and Automation, as well as Big Red Palmetto Store. And of course, we couldn't do it without all of you watching and all the text and all the feedback we get on our Facebook page. And we will have stuff periodically throughout the next few months, but we'll be right back here at the same spot come football season 2023. A new coach will be in tow, and we're looking forward to it right here on Citadel Gray Line. Thank you so much, everybody, and have a wonderful holidays. And as always, go Citadel Bulldogs. Fall out, y'all, and thank you once again.